All right, Statesman Nation, here with Coach John Henry of the men's basketball team. Coach, thank you for taking the time out this afternoon to come speak with us. We'll get right into it. We'll start with last year a little bit, discuss last year, and go from there.
Finished 22-12, tie for second in the Heart of America. It was the first year in the 4 years we've been in the Heart that we didn't win it, so that was a little disappointing, but anytime you finish in the top two of the Heart of America, it's still a very good year. Advanced to the Nationals, where we won a game and made it to the Sweet 16, so that was the icing on the finish of the season. There were a few people that were disappointed because we were preseason ranked number 1 by Street and Smith, but anytime you go 22-12 and go to the Sweet 16, that's a great year. If that's a down year, give me 10 of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and we had a lot of seniors last year, as we have the last few years. I know that Avery Edwards and Omar Sherman are both playing professionally, and that's great for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's fair to say that the conference was much improved last year.
Yeah.
I think as a whole, your typical people were at the top, but there was some teams that usually don't have as much success that really kind of came out.
Benedictine was fantastic. They went to Nationals as the number 1 seed, and they won our league and were very, very good. They didn't lose a regular season conference game. So anytime you go 24-0 in league, you're one of the most phenomenal teams probably in Heart history, one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this conference, there's no rest for the wicked when it comes to this conference in any given year. Always one of the top conferences in the nation, if not the top. But
you can't take a night off at all.
Yeah.
And that's, we're still playing a round robin again this year, and then I think the following year we go to divisions where we won't play everybody twice, and I am all for that.
Yeah.
Because it's just every single night is a beatdown, and you can lose or get blown out any given night.
Yeah, it's grind for sure. But let's fast forward now to this off season. Talk about your recruiting, what your strategy was, and what you were really looking for.
As far as recruiting, we were just looking for the best available players, to be honest with you. Our cupboard was very bare. As I said before, we had a lot of seniors last year. Coach Sandquist, Blake Sandquist, and Coach Justin Wyatt do a lot of recruiting, and I would say they go fishing and bring me the fish. That's a really bad analogy, but they did a great job of bringing guys in, and we finalized on some really good players. We also had 3 really good red shirts in Nate Goering, Dexter Hood, and Jared Peel that were already here, came in at semester and got acclimated, so that made it a lot easier. Plus, we've actually moved up a handful of kids from our varsity reserve and our JV teams from last year that they've been around, not necessarily in the varsity system, but they've been around the program, so they know what to expect as far as attitude, work ethic, and behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Coach Sandquist and Coach White. Talk about your coaching staff a little bit. Had a couple of grad assistants move on last year. We also brought in a couple of grad assistants in Brian Rickey and Cooper Murphy. Talk about them and what they bring to the table.
Lost all 3 of our grad assistants last year.
Sorry.
Josh Beardsley, Forrest Hicks, and Rufus Williams were fantastic for 2 years and really had a good, strong bond. We're very loyal, very hardworking. We had a lot of success while they were here. We went to a Final Four and a Sweet 16, and you can't argue with their tenure here was very successful. Cooper Murphy comes to us by way of Colorado State, and Brian Rickey, otherwise known as B-Rick or Brick, comes to us from UNI. It's the first time in my 19 years that I went outside the circle or the family, so to say. Usually I hire from within, like either you had to have had played for me, played for somebody who played for me, or coached with somebody that I know, etc. We decided to ask some people that we knew from the Division I ranks. Ali Farouk-Manesh, former UNI players at Colorado State, he was at Nebraska and Drake before that. We asked him if he knew of any young, bright coaches or managers or anything that would be interested in the position, and he sent us Cooper. Assistant coach PJ Hogan at UNI, I reached out to him and Coach Kyle Green at UNI and asked them if they had somebody, and they gave us Coach Brick. So took a chance, and it's been great. They're both fantastic, fit right into the mold, the fraternity of our coaching. We've had a very successful run of guys come through as coaches just as we have as players, and that's something that I'm very proud of.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of the returners real quick. Let's highlight a couple of guys here, Eddie Daly and Q Cager. Eddie Daly, we saw really stepped up in some big spots last year. Kind of grew up in front of our eyes. Talk about him real quick.
Eddie Daly out of Lansing, Michigan. This will be his 3rd year. He's a junior, 6'9"-ish. He's put on some weight. He's up to about 225, 220, depending on the day or what he eats or drinks.
Yeah.
Fun kid to be around, from a great family. Still can't believe that somebody up in Michigan didn't snag him, even after he's been here 3 years. I still can't believe that a kid of this caliber had to go all the way to Oskaloosa, Iowa, but we're glad that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Improves almost by the week, sometimes by the day. Really doing a nice job this fall too. Could step out and shoot a little bit. His athleticism is up. He runs like a deer. Trying to loosen up his upper body. He's got kind of a stiff frame up there, but like I said, just a fun guy to be around. Good student, goes to class, takes care of business, and we're looking for big things. I think he averaged 5.4 rebounds last year off the bench. Had some spot starts here and there, like you said, some big games. There were some times also where he disappeared, and we got to have more consistency out of him if we're going to have success. He'll be battling for a starting position with Nate Goering, one of the young men who came in at Christmas last year, transfer from Pepperdine from Waukee, Iowa. They're both about 6'9"-ish, 6'10", 225-ish, and can do some different things. They'll both play a lot regardless of who starts.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably split the minutes 20, 25 apiece.
Yeah, and then Q Cager, arguably when that guy's on the court, he is arguably the best athlete out there, no matter who you're playing or matching up with. And got off to a really good start last year. Really brought some fire, I thought, and then obviously unfortunately went down with an injury there. What does it mean to have him back and healthy?
It means the world. If you go back and look at the stats, we were 15-1 when Q was playing, and we were 7-11 when he wasn't. Mm-hmm. That tells you all you need to know. Yeah. He's fast. Boy, is he fast. With the basketball, he can dribble faster than most people can just run, and that's fast. And he jumps out the gym for a smaller guy. He's just a dog, and this year he's our alpha. He's a leader. He's the one that speaks up when we're not doing what we should be doing or working hard enough or playing defense. And what I've seen in Q is not only as a basketball player but as a young man. There's some serious growth there. Mm-hmm. He had a tendency to get some technical fouls last year and lose his emotions, and he's handling those way better this year. And that's just maturity and all. And again, he's another kid that's fun to be around. I know that some people come to our games and they see the scowl on his face or he's constantly barking at somebody, but that's just his basketball demeanor. Off the court, he's a fun kid to be around and always a joy when he comes into the offices.
Yeah, absolutely. Q is one of those guys I see in the hallways, and I always talk to him a little bit, see how he's doing and everything. But let's get into the position breakdown. We can start wherever you want to start. You can go work guard all the way down to post.
Let's finish with our other 2 returners. Ahmad Pinder, young man out of Chicago, kind of a slasher. Started last year on our varsity reserve team the first probably 3 to 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the season, he was our 6th man on a Sweet 16 team. So he's athletic as all get out, jump out the gym, working on his jump shot, defensive consistency. He's athletic enough to guard all 5 positions. Been really nicked up with injury so far this early part of the season. I think he's had 5 different things happen to him in practice, everything from a back to a hip to a lip to poked in the eye. I mean, everything happens to him. So hopefully we can get him healthy and on track. Malik Thomas ended up starting for us probably the last month and a half, month of the season. Had some big moments. Again, a lot like Eddie, had some inconsistencies as well, and we're looking for him to get more consistent across the board. He's been really banged up. I think he's only practiced. We had practice number 17 yesterday, and I think he's only been full strength at 2 or 3. He's only dressed out, I think, 4 or 5 times because he's got a bad wrist. He hurt it in the preseason trying to dunk on somebody, and we probably and he probably rushed back a little too soon and hurt it a little more as he came back too early. So we've shut him down for now. We actually have a scrimmage tonight at home, and he's not going to dress out for that. but looking for big things from him as well. And then, as I said before, the 3 red shirts that were here, Jared Peel, Nate Goering, and Dexter Hood, all are acclimated to what we do, and that's great. So, rounding out returners who were here last year would be, bear with me, Q Freeman, DJ Bonds, Josh Watkins. We're all on the varsity reserve team, and we're very successful. Rufus Williams and Jordan Helms were their coaches. They had a really good year. There were a couple of times where they would scrimmage the varsity and really give us a go. All 3 of those young men are very competitive. Q's kind of a smaller point guard water bug type. Josh and DJ both can shoot it. Specifically, Josh Watkins can really shoot the ball. DJ's kind of a hustler, enthusiastic. Drives me nuts sometimes with his enthusiasm, but sometimes youthful exuberance is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And how important is it to have those guys, in the program? It really just shows the great depth that you guys have in this program, and then those guys are able to, come in and step up.
Well, we're very proud of those 3 and Ahmad. Malik actually played a year at JV as well, so that's 5 kids that have come through the system through JV or varsity reserve. And we're really proud of those guys because in today's day and age of college athletics, loyalty is not that strong. Kids don't make varsity some transfer. When they don't get what they want, they want to find the grass always greener. Let's find somewhere else to go or complain. They played their way into these positions, and what I've found is guys who do that and stick with it are very hungry, and that would describe all 5 of those kids because I always use the baseball analogy. It's like playing AAA and you want to get to the show. You're right for JV. You're riding in vans to play junior colleges sometimes, and the varsity rides in a charter bus. So that's the big difference. I'd rather play for the Chicago Cubs than the Iowa Cubs. So that's one way we put it.
Right on. Well, now hopefully, if that's all the returners, we can get into the position breakdown a little bit. Start with the guards or wherever you want to start.
Point guard, as I mentioned before. I haven't mentioned some of the newer guys. At point guard, Brandon Faison will be there. He's a transfer from Queens University out in North Carolina. Was a junior college All-American, big-time scorer at one point. He's a 6'2", 185-pound junior. We're expecting him to start at the point, and battling him will be Jared Peel and Chance Crusoe, freshman out of St. Louis, Missouri. Jared Peel is a redshirt freshman out of Dallas, Texas. All 3 of those guys, plus Q Freeman, as I mentioned before, will be playing the 1 spot for us. The good thing about Brandon is he could move around and play different guard spots if we needed him to. Q Cager, or Demarius, as his mom calls him. Q Cager will play some 1 and spot minutes as well, but we'd like to keep him off the ball if possible. Also in the backcourt, Kamari Newman, Mari as we call him, young man out of Detroit, Michigan, spent some time at George Mason as a freshman and then Oakland University as a sophomore. He's a 6'4" junior for us, can really shoot it and shoot it from deep. As deep as we've ever had, all the way back to maybe Joe Powell, some guys like that. We've been very blessed to have great shooters here, and he's in a long line of those. And then I mentioned Dexter Hood. He'll probably be the other starter at the 4. Tonight for our scrimmage, we're going with Brandon Faison, Q Cager, Kamari Newman at the 3, Dexter Hood at the 4, and Nate Goering at the 5. With not Malik Thomas, he's sitting out for injury, with Eddie Daly and Josh Watkins probably be in the top 2 guys off the bench. Other young men with us at this point, we've got more freshmen than we usually do. I mentioned Chance Caruso, he's a freshman, but we've also got Gabe Larkin, 6'5", 205 freshman at Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont High School down the road. And it's good to have an area kid. He is as tough of a kid as we've ever had. We're working on his skill set, which isn't horrible by any means. He's going to have to play an undersized 4 or 5 for us. 6'5" isn't all that tall at our level, but he throws his body around. He's very annoying. And I've known Gabe since he was in probably second or third grade, competing with my son's teams, and I actually coached some of my son's teams when he was growing up, and we would play Gabe and all his little buddies, and they were always rough and tumble back then. So I've known him a long time, and it's great to finally have him on my side, rather than beating on my kid and my son's friends. So Gatador, I'm gonna butcher this last name, Bijigek. I just call him G. He's a freshman from Des Moines North, Des Moines, Iowa, resident. 6'4", 150. I think the 150 might actually be generous.
Wow.
He's a very, very thin kid. Averaged about 16 to 18 points for Des Moines North. Great shooter with a really bad form. Fans that remember how ugly Taylor Stoutner's form was, that it went in all the time back in the day, that makes Taylor's form look great. Yeah. But it goes in just as much as Taylor's does. This young man can really shoot it. We're going to redshirt him, as obviously he needs to put on some weight, but we're thrilled with him. Great kid to be around, always smiling. And then his high school teammate from Des Moines North, Lino Maluel. Lino is a fantastic athlete, 6'3", 170. I think the 170 again is a little generous. Jumps out the gym and can shoot it as well. We think these two young men were highly overlooked coming out of Des Moines, probably because they had a teammate named Tyreek LaCure who went Division I at University of South Alabama, and he averaged like 30 a game. Mm-hmm. So we think they're a steal. Rodrigo Soares from Texas, Timberview, Mansfield High School. He's actually originally from Lisbon, Portugal, where his father played pro for several years. 6'4", 200. The 200 might be generous in the wrong direction, as he's been hurt with an injury. We're going to slim him down a little bit. Great basketball IQ on him, and we're looking for big things at him. We're going to redshirt him as well. All three of those young men will redshirt. Haven't completely decided on Chance Caruso. Great passer for a freshman. As I mentioned before, out of Ashawn High School. A lot of great players come out of Ashawn, Division I players and pros actually. And he's an absolute steal. Great student and great player. He's going to be a fantastic player. As I mentioned, haven't decided if we're going to redshirt him or play him yet, as he's had an ankle injury. And finally, a young man who gets eligible at Christmas, can't forget this guy, Kavion Blaylock, known as KB, 6'6", 200 out of Houston, Texas. He is transferring from Queens University in North Carolina with Brandon Faison. Probably one of the greatest jumping athletes I've ever seen. Along the lines of Brandon Trotter. Trotter was an explosive jumper. KB makes it look easy. I mean, he can literally put his chin on the rim. I mean, it's outrageous how high this guy jumps. Hardworking, good young man. As I mentioned, 6'6", 200. Won't play until early January, and when we get him, we're excited because he'll add a lot to the mix. If we could have him now, I would have issues with deciding who would be in the starting lineup because he's that explosive and that good of a player.
Yeah, no, it's definitely saying something when you have guys, like Ahmad Pinder and Q Cadry, those guys are explosive in their own right. But, you mentioned, a lot of freshmen this year. How important is it for those upperclassmen to kind of help mold those guys and teach those guys, the Statesman way? Obviously, a lot of winning tradition here. How do what kind of expectation do you put on the older guys to kind of show those younger guys?
A lot. And you said it best. It is their responsibility along with the coaches. And, we've got some other, we mentioned the grad assistants and Coach Wyatt and Coach Sandquist, but we've got some other student assistants that are really helpful in that too, with knowing what we're expecting. Jordan Helms and Wade Votrebeck decided to become a coach with a year of eligibility left. And those guys help so much because they know the way. Don Hickenbottom's been with me for 15 years. They know exactly what we're trying to do. And I'm not going to break down the entire staff because there's just so many.
Yeah.
I think we lead the nation in coaches. The officials always joke, when they come over to shake all the coaches' hands, they're shaking more coaches' hands than they are players. But, they do a good job along with the older players. I've put a lot on Eddie Daly and Q Cager, Malik Thomas, to step up their leadership and mentor. And then those three red shirts, Dexter Hood, is a natural born leader as well, and he doesn't really have to say much. He's a big, strong, mean looking dude, so he can kind of just give you the look at one of those guys, and I think they'll do what he asks them to do, and it's a work in progress. We're ranked third in Street and Smith. Part of that was because they thought we had 2 or 3 guys that aren't with us. We had a transfer from Washington State not show up, and we parted ways with a couple of other guys that were supposed to be major cogs that maybe the magazine thought was going to be here. So being overrated in a magazine doesn't mean anything. I mean, who really cares?
Yeah.
It's fun for the kids because they get to see their name in a national magazine, and they get to tell their family and friends, hey, buy this magazine, we're in it, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything, and it's fun, and I would rather be overrated than not be talked about at all, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're going to do our best and see if we can have another successful season.
Yeah, let's talk about the schedule real quick. You open up with a presentation on October 27th, kind of talk about that game and the non-conference schedule, and then we'll get in the conference.
Picked up presentation late. Jeremy Regal, one of my best friends, was the coach there. Got them scheduled, and then he decided to leave. So I don't know the new coach who got the job very, very late. I think school was even started when he got the job. Don't know anything about them yet. We're not really concentrating on them right now. We're concentrating on us. We've got Southeastern Community College out of Burlington tonight in a scrimmage exhibition here at home. We've got Indian Hills next week down there, and that'll be a blast. They're absolutely huge. They had a guy actually commit to Kansas yesterday, so that's always fun going toe-to-toe with them. As far as non-conference, I don't have it completely memorized, but presentations first, and then we go to Michigan. It's a home trip for Eddie Daly. We're going to actually play in Lansing. We play Great Lakes College, and then we go over and play Grace University a little bit up north, and that'll be a long trip, but that'll be fun. William Woods and some others in there as for our non-conference, but the conference, we're going to play everybody twice again, which I mentioned before is just brutal. It's wide open. Everybody, it was very senior laden league last year. Everybody's got some new faces. I told Blake, I think our conference voting for rankings in our league is due tomorrow at noon. I told Blake and Justin Wyatt and Don Hickenbottom to go ahead and fill that thing out because they know the personnel of our league right now better than I do. They kind of ball watch that, if you will. Yeah. I'm not too concerned about who's on what team at this point right now. I'm trying to concentrate on what we have and build what we have in our gym rather than what's going on in other people's gym. And I like that they take on that responsibility. It gives them ownership. And like I said, if I voted on it right now, I'd be blind. And they research that stuff, and they're going to send it in with my name on it probably. So I couldn't tell you who's the front runner. I know that's probably your next question. And I don't want to slight anybody by mentioning somebody and not somebody else. Everybody's good in this league. I think there's 3 Hall of Fame coaches in this league and 3 guys that I think there's 3 schools that have won national championships. I know Graceland, Evangel, and Mid-Am have national championships in their trophy cases. So everybody's good. As I mentioned before, every single night you can get whooped, whether it be at home or on the road. And I respect all these coaches so much. And, we've been blessed to have really 4 straight years of either winning it or getting second. I hope we can do that again. Again, it's been a blessing, and we're so honored to have done that, especially with the great coaches and players in this league. And there's a bit of a bullseye on us, having been at the top or first or second all 4 years. We've been good ever since we've been in the league, and that's what's expected. I tell our players, that is a responsibility that's tough to handle, but you'd rather have that than the expectation of not being very good.
Yeah.
I would rather people want us to win every game than be shocked when we win a game. Mm-hmm. And that's what when I first got here I set out to do, and thank the Lord we've accomplished that, and hopefully we can just keep that going now.
Yeah, you kind of talked about the expectation, but what are the goals for this season with this group, and how do you achieve that?
the goals for every group here, and I hope this doesn't come off as arrogant. I see it as confident, and I think everybody should have this thinking. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be wrong today and tomorrow. But I think you should expect to win your conference. I think you should go into every year saying, our goal is to win our league, and then after that, accomplish that, and then look and see where you're at as far as a national championship. It might sound cocky or brash, but we've got a lot of banners in the gym, and we're missing the big one. I'm not saying that's going to happen this year, but every year that's what we're chasing: conference title and the big cheese. If it doesn't happen while I'm here, that's what I'm going to shoot for until I'm done here. And if we end up 10-20 and we're not very good this year, next year I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have the same mindset, and I just think that that's what you should do, and that's what we tell our players, and that's what we want them to expect. So that's what we're all about.
Awesome, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time out this afternoon. Best of luck this upcoming season. It's going to be another awesome ride. Watching you guys and following you guys. So best of luck and thank you.
Thank you.